Good afternoon, everyone. As you know, that we were discussing about the major abiotic factors that influences the distribution of plants and animals in a particular area, right? And among the major abiotic factors, we have discussed the first abiotic factor, that is temperature. So today we are going to discuss the rest abiotic factor. Now let us talk about the second abiotic factor, that is water. As you know that water is very important for the sustainability of life, right? If I talk about the plants, they need water for the process of photosynthesis. Human being, we need water in order to maintain the osmotic balance, right? So water is a very important factor that determines the distribution of a particular organism. Clear? Suppose if I talk about a few organisms live in the desert, and if an organism is living in the desert, then that organism must possess special characteristic features with the help of which that organism can live in the desert. Why? Because in the desert, amount of the water available is quite less. Clear? So organisms are adapted. They are distributed according to the presence of water. Like if I talk about an inland water body, suppose there is an inland water body, it is having the salt concentration less than 5. Okay, it is having the salt concentration less than 5, salinity per thousand. Okay, now if I talk about any kind of other water body like ocean, suppose the ocean is having the 30 and the hypersaline lagoon. Hypersaline, as the name suggests, the salinity will be high, the amount of the salt will be high. Hypersaline lagoon, here the amount of the salt is even more than 100. So from here, suppose an organism lives in this water. Here is an organism. If I'll take this organism and I'll put it in this water in the ocean, can that organism survive? If I'll take out this organism from here and I'll put it here, can this organism survive? Your answer will be no. It means I can say water is a very important factor that affects the distribution of the organism. Clear? Now, on the basis of the amount of the salt, organisms are of two types, euryhaline and stenohaline. Organisms are of two types on the basis of their tolerance power towards the saline or salinity conditions. So organisms, they are of two types, euryhaline and stenohaline. Now, eury means they can tolerate a wide range of salinity. Euryhaline means organisms which can tolerate a wide range of salinity. It means suppose if they are present in a water body having 5 parts per million salt content, if they will go to any other water body having the salt amount, suppose for example 30, then they can survive. They can tolerate a wide range of salinity condition. But if I talk about the stenohaline organism, they cannot tolerate a wide range. They are specific in a specific range. Suppose a stenohaline organism lives in the water having 5 salinity. Now, if that organism is transferred to any other water body having the 30, salinity, then this organism will die. Am I clear? Euryhaline organism, they can tolerate a wide range of temperature. Stenohaline, they cannot tolerate a wide range of temperature. They are active, they can tolerate, or they show response towards a narrow range of temperature, a narrow range of salinity. Clear? Now, the next important abiotic factor is light. If I talk for the plants, you know that plants need light for the process of photosynthesis. And ultimately, all the organisms, animals, they depend on the plants for food. So basically, light is a very important factor. Clear? Second thing, plants also need light. For some plants, they show the process of photoperiodism. Now, what is that? In this, the flowers are produced on the plant only when there is light. It means when light is there, the plant will flower. It means the plant can reproduce. Clear? So plants need light for the process of photosynthesis. A few plants need light for the process of photoperiodism. They will be able to flower only when light is there. If light is not there, they will not flower. It means they will not reproduce. So they need light for these kind of purposes. So obviously light affects their distribution. Clear? If I'll talk about the algae, in class 11th you have studied that we are having three types of algae: red algae, brown algae, green algae. Red algae, brown algae, green algae. They live in the ocean. Now can you think, out of these three, which algae can be present in the deepest layer of the sea? Out of green algae, red algae and brown algae, out of these three algae, which algae is present in the deepest layer of the sea? Answer is red algae. Now here comes the question. Its answer lies here in the light. Basically the spectral light, the wavelength of the light, it affects the distribution of the organism. Red algae is present in the deeper layer of the sea, while green algae is not present in the deeper layer. Why? Because red algae, they are red. Why? Because they absorb blue light and they emit red light. So basically they absorb blue light. It means red algae are present in the deeper layer of the sea. Why? Because their blue light can reach. And why blue light can reach? Because you know that in the spectral component of light, light is having 7 colors Vibgyor, right? So that blue color light, it is having the least wavelength and it can, you can say it is highly active, it can go in the deeper layer of the sea. The blue light can go in the deeper layer of the sea. So that's why the blue light can reach the deeper layer of the sea and the red algae will absorb that blue light. So red algae is distributed in the deeper layer of the sea while the other two algae are not. Am I clear? No. So light is an important factor that affects the distribution of the organisms. Now the next important factor, abiotic factor that affects the distribution of the organism is soil. You know that soil is having a quality, chemical composition, pH of the soil, from what type of rock the soil is made up of, the weathering process, whether the soil it has been transferred or is it sedimentary. These are the various things that will affect the quality of the soil. What is the mineral content in the soil? What is the nutrient composition of the soil? It will affect the chemical nature of the soil, and ultimately this will affect the distribution of the plants present in the soil, and ultimately it will affect the distribution of the animals that are present in that area. Am I clear? So these are the abiotic factors that affect the distribution of the organisms. Now, let us talk about a new topic, that is responses of the organisms towards the abiotic factors. How the organisms respond to the abiotic factors. So response of the organisms to the abiotic factors. Understand one thing, actually organisms, they are most active at a particular temperature, right? At a particular osmotic concentration we are active, we are maximum active at 37 degrees Celsius. Why is it so? Why the organisms are most active at a particular temperature, at a particular osmotic concentration? The simple answer is that the organisms are having enzymes, and enzymes, they are most active at a particular temperature, and enzymes will bring about the metabolic reactions, they increases the rate of metabolic reaction. So organisms, they are most active at a particular temperature because at that particular temperature their enzymes are maximum active. Clear? Now, if I'll talk about the different types of organisms, how they respond to the abiotic factors. So according to that, we are having four type of organism: regulator, conformer, migrant, suspend. Now what is this? Regulator, as the name suggests, these are the organisms that can regulate their body temperature. They can regulate the osmotic concentration like human beings. Our body temperature is 37 degrees Celsius. Okay, even if I am in Panipat, my temperature is this. If I'll go to a desert, my body will try to make the temperature to this only. How? You'll sweat, and sweating causes cooling. That sweat will try to lower down your body temperature to 37 only. If we will go to polar regions, what will happen? Still our body will try to regulate our body temperature. How? By shivering. In the cold regions we will start shivering, and shivering is a kind of exercise that produces heat. Due to that heat, our body temperature will again try to come to 37 degrees Celsius. So regulators are the organisms, they have the power to regulate their body temperature. Okay, their body temperature doesn't change according to the outside temperature. Whether the human being is in Panipat or will they move to the polar regions or to the desert, they will try to regulate their body temperature to 37 only. A little bit variation will be there, but still they will try. Clear? So we belong to the category of regulator that can regulate their body temperature. And regulators, they have to spend energy for this. We can regulate our body temperature, but we have to spend energy for this purpose. Clear? And regulators are more active than the conformer. About 99% of the organisms are conformers. Just imagine, 99% of the organisms, mostly animals and all the plants. Mostly animals and all the plants, they are conformers, means they can't maintain their body temperature. Their body temperature will vary according to the outside temperature. So obviously they are less active. Am I clear? And why 99% of the organisms are conformers? I told you, in regulators they have to spend more energy. Just think, each and every organism can't spend more energy. Simple as that. Clear? So regulators, these are the organisms that can maintain their body temperature. They can maintain their osmotic concentration, like is mammals. Human being is a mammal and we are a regulator. Conformer, 99% of the organisms, all plants, almost all animals, they are conformers. They can't regulate their body temperature. Clear? If a frog is there in Panipat, suppose whatsoever is the temperature, suppose 30 degrees Celsius. If that frog will take that frog in the polar regions where the temperature is zero, maybe less than zero, at that temperature the frog will die. Why? Because it cannot regulate its body temperature. If it is there at 0 degrees Celsius, then the temperature of the body of the frog will become 0. Am I clear? If the outside temperature of the frog is 0, the inside temperature of the frog will become 0. So now what will happen at 0 degrees Celsius? The metabolic activity of the frog will stop. So frog will die. Am I clear? But if I'll talk about a regulator human being, if we'll go to a place where the temperature is 0 degrees Celsius, the temperature of my body will not become 0. Still my body will try to regulate it to 37, either by shivering or whatever means, but my body will try. Is it fine? So regulators are the organisms. They can regulate their body temperature, they can regulate the osmotic concentration. Conformers are the organisms. They cannot regulate their body temperature, they cannot regulate their osmotic concentration. Their temperature varies with the outside environment's temperature, and obviously they are not supposed to spend more energy. Like regulators spend more energy in maintaining their body temperature. Now if I talk about the migrant, as the name suggests, migrant, they are going to migrate. Suppose there is a place A, and in place A, suppose for a particular time period, these two are for a particular time period, these two are not for permanent. Okay, suppose for a particular time period, the temperature condition or the environmental condition in a particular area becomes adverse. So what the migrant will do? The migrant will migrate from place A to place B. The migrant will migrate from place A to place B when the conditions are not favorable. And when the conditions are favorable, the organism will again come back to place A. Migration, the seasonal movement from one place to another. Suppose its example is Siberian crane. Siberian crane lives in Siberia. Okay, now what happens during the time of the winter? The temperature lowers down, and in that stressful condition, what the Siberian crane will do? This bird don't live in the Siberia for that particular time period for the winter. It migrates, okay, to Rajasthan. There is Bharatpur Kolyado National Park in Rajasthan. This bird migrates at that place. And when the winters are over, the bird again migrates to Siberia. Is that fine? Siberian crane migrates from Siberia to Bharatpur in Rajasthan in Kolyado National Park. And when the suitable conditions are there, it again migrates to the Siberia. So this is migrant. Now if I'll talk about the suspend, you have heard about the spores. Spores of fungi and a few others. Actually these spores, they are very much resistant. Okay, if the unfavorable conditions are there, they will not germinate and they will not die. Actually what they used to do, their metabolic activity is somewhat stopped. Okay, so even they live in the outside unfavorable conditions, still they don't die. As soon as they will get the favorable condition, they will grow into the new organism. Clear? Its example is also seeds of plants. The seed of a plant doesn't die, even if it is not having water, nothing, soil, nothing. Okay, in the unfavorable condition, it will remain alive as their metabolic activity is somewhat reduced to zero only. Clear? And as soon as they will get the favorable condition, the seed will get the soil, water, it will start germinating into a new plant. Clear? So on the basis of the response to the abiotic factors, we are having these four types of the organism. Regulator, they can regulate their body temperature. Conformer, they cannot regulate their body temperature, they cannot regulate their osmotic concentration. Migrant, they will migrate to a new place during the time of the unfavorable condition. And suspend, they just suspend their metabolic activity. They remain inactive during the unfavorable condition. And as soon as the favorable condition will come, they will start growing. Clear? Now let me make a graph showing the regulator and the conformer. Now here if I'll just make the external environment and here the internal environment. So what happens in the regulator? Their internal environment remains same. Their body temperature is same, like this. No matter what is the temperature of the external environment, they will maintain their temperature. If their temperature is this, it will remain this only. So this is a regulator. But for a conformer, you can see as the external environment is changing, the internal environment is also changing. Okay, a few organisms are partial regulator, means they are conformer and then they are regulator also. Okay, at a particular point their temperature varies with the external environment and then they can regulate. Clear? Now let us talk about the adaptation in different kind of organisms. First of all, we should understand what is the meaning of adaptation. Adaptation basically means, like I told you, the abiotic factors, they play a very important role in determining the distribution of an organism. Now suppose a particular organism A lives in a particular area, then obviously that organism must have special feature with the help of which that organism can live in that area. So the presence of special features that makes the survival of an organism possible in a particular area, that special feature is known as adaptation. Clear? So adaptation means the special features that are present in an organism that makes its survival possible in that particular area. Now the organisms show three type of adaptation. It could be morphological, the one that you can see from the outside. Morphological adaptations, physiological adaptations, the change in the physiology, internal functioning. Physiological adaptations, behavioral adaptations. Migration, it is an example of behavioral adaptation only. Siberian cranes, they are migrating. Now, let us talk about their example. If I'll talk about the morphological adaptation, then if you have ever seen the organisms that live in the polar regions, just observe their digits, fingers carefully, their ears carefully, you'll find that their ears are quite small. Their digits are quite small. Okay, small fingers, I can say, small ears in the organisms that live in the polar areas. Have you ever thought why? This is an example of morphological adaptation. Morphologically, you can just see the ears are small. You can see the fingers are small. Why? Because it reduces their surface area. The ears are small, fingers are small, so their surface area has been reduced. And decrease in the surface area, it means the loss of the heat would be less. And this is what exactly they want. The heat loss must be less. As they live in the polar regions, they need heat. They don't want the heat to come out. Is it fine? This is Allen's rule. That what I told you now. So this is an example of morphological adaptation. Second example is the desert plants. In the desert, you know that the amount of the water available is quite less. So what happens in case of the desert plants? Let me take the example of Opuntia, cactus. You know that in them, the leaves, they are quite reduced, sometimes absent. Otherwise, if present, it is quite reduced in the form of the spines. Okay. So that the transpiration is lower down. You know that leaves are responsible for the process of transpiration. So in them, leaves are either absent, or if present, then they are present in the form of the spines. The surface area is quite less, so that the transpiration will be less. And as they live in the desert, they have to prevent transpiration. They don't want to lose the water in the form of water vapor, as the amount of water available to them is quite low. Clear? Plus, if the leaves are present in a few desert plants, leaves are present, then their leaves are having another kind of adaptation. Like in Cactus opuntia, generally leaves are absent, otherwise reduced to spines. But a few plants they have leaves. Now they are having different type of adaptation. On the surface of their leaf, they are having a thick layer of cuticle like that. Now what the thick layer of cuticle will do, it will not let the process of transpiration happen. Why? Because this is a thick layer. It will not let the water vapor to go out. Their stomata are present in the deep pits. Obviously, stomata they are responsible for the process of transpiration. If the stomata are present in the deep pits, again the rate of the transpiration will be lower down. Is that fine? Now, let us talk about the physiological adaptations. These adaptations are not present by birth. These are sudden changes in the organism's body so as to respond to the stressful outside condition. Suppose I'm here, I live in the Panipat. Okay, if I went to, if I'm going to Rohtang, that is near the Manali. So what is there in the Rohtang? Or when we are going to any kind of the higher place, any kind of the hilly area, I can say. Okay, so there we have to move across a particular height. Okay, now what happens when we reach a particular height? Suppose here 3500-meter distance is there. When we reach till there, now what happens if a person has reached here? Now he'll start feeling fatigue, tired, headache. Okay, the breathing problems will arise. Why? Because at this much height, the amount of the oxygen available will become the amount of the oxygen available will become less. So now what will happen? The person will start showing the physiological adaptation. Okay, when the person is at the base, the person is not having any kind of physiological adaptation. As soon as the person will reach here, he'll start facing problem. He'll start facing problem in breathing. He'll start feeling fatigue. Now this person will develop physiological adaptations. So physiological adaptations are the sudden adaptations that arise due to the stressful environmental conditions. Now what will happen in this organism? RBC number will increase, respiratory rate will increase, and binding of the hemoglobin with oxygen decreases. Now why does this happen? As you know that at this much height, why the person is feeling dizzy, fatigue, why? Because here the amount of oxygen available is quite less, right? That is altitude sickness. So what will happen? The RBC will become more. The person will start showing the physiological adaptation. Now the RBC number will increase. And you know that RBC help in the transportation of oxygen. So more oxygen will be transported. Respiratory rate will increase. If the respiratory rate will increase, then more oxygen will be taken in the body. Okay, so now the person is taking more oxygen. Increase in the RBC means the transporting of the more oxygen is there. Third adaptation, affinity of hemoglobin and oxygen decreases. Now what will happen as the respiratory rate is more oxygen will come in, RBCs are more oxygen will be transported. Now at the tissue site, as you know that the affinity of the hemoglobin and oxygen decreases. So here HbO2 will fastly broken down and hemoglobin will be separated from the oxygen, and oxygen can easily reach the tissues. That what exactly we want in case of the altitude sickness. If a person is feeling altitude sickness, then it means the cells of the body of that person wants oxygen. So for that it shows the physiological adaptation. RBC will increase, the respiration rate will increase, the affinity will decrease, so that more amount of the oxygen can be supplied to the cells of the body, so as to overcome the symptoms of the sleeping, so as to overcome the symptoms of the altitude sickness. So again, this is an adaptation. Behavioral adaptation. In the behavior of the organism, there will be change so as to make its life possible in the environment. Suppose its example is a lizard. What that lizard used to do during the time of the sun, when the sun is there, it wants the sunlight, then it will go outside. When it is the shade, then it wants that the heat of the body should be conserved. So at that time, the lizard will come in. Is it fine? Like we used to do also, but that is not a behavioral adaptation. Okay, what that lizard used to do during the sun, it will come out. Okay, so as to bathe in that sunlight. And when it is shade, it just come inside. That is a behavioral adaptation. Migration, I told you the Siberian crane, it will migrate. That is also a behavioral adaptation. Clear? Thank you.